Good evening, everyone. I'm Elisa Streeter.
And I'm Jim Brennan. Welcome. And in just a few minutes, we'll be going to the Millennium Millions drawing. That'll be live in Times Square.
But for the next 7 minutes, we'll be checking in with our reporters around the capital region where the celebrations have begun in earnest.
Our first stop this time around the capital city. News 10's John McLoughlin is there. John.
Yeah, Jim, Elisa, we just saw the finale to the fireworks display here, which opened up Millennium 2000 celebration here in downtown Albany in the East Park of Capitol Park. We're here at the City Hall, right in front of City Hall, and you can see several thousand people out there gathered already. We're supposed to have tonight perhaps as many as 10 or 12,000 people for Albany's celebration. And of course, when they leave here, they'll be going down in front of the Pepsi Arena, where you got 3 huge tents down there, all of them heated. And one of them, they're going to have swing bands. Another one's going to have rock. All kinds of entertainment for folks tonight as they await the new millennium, await the new century. And then, of course, there's another fireworks display at midnight down at the University Plaza. I've got some revelers back here. Come here, guys. Come here. Where are you all from? New York.
Sure. We go to George Washington.
Is that right? Yeah. Is this your first time in Albany for New Year's Eve?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
Happy New Year.
Okay. Behave yourselves, okay? All right. So I got a lot of friends here, Jim and Elisa, and that's the kind of night it's going to be here, I think. We're going to have a good time in downtown Albany as we await the new century, the new year.
All right, thanks very much, John. A little more than 5.5 hours to go, and then, of course, we'll be watching to see all the computers rolling over to the year 2000. Hopefully, they'll all be ready.
Well, when the clock strikes midnight, hopefully all those computers won't think it's still the 1900s. That's the fear. But just in case, the state's Y2K Command Center says it's ready to jump on any problem that night might arise. That's where News 10's Steve Ammerman is tonight. Steve.
Elisa, things still going smoothly underneath the public security building here in the state office campus. This is more or less ground zero to handle any kind of emergency that could crop up around the state, but leaders are convinced that that just won't happen. In an afternoon stop at the Emergency Coordinating Center, Governor Pataki is calling New York the most prepared state in the country to handle Y2K. It took 3 years of planning and more than $250 million to get there.
In the past, we've had major efforts dealing with emergencies from the center. This has been a major effort to avoid any emergency and to avoid the need to take a phone call at 12:01. And I'm hopeful that at 12:01, with everybody else, we'll be out there celebrating and toasting the dawn of a new millennium.
Just calling for an update on any developments in nuclear power, either around the world or in the United States.
The State Emergency Management Office, along with 22 state agencies, are checking out situations across New York State, including public utilities, electricity, cable, gas, telephones. Authorities in contact with 14 monitoring centers across the state.
I can assure you that the entire staff here and the staff in the field is relieved that we're near the end on this. We've put a considerable amount of time in preparing for this over the last 2 years, and the effort over the last 3 to 4 months has been very, very intense in terms of ensuring that we have the proper monitoring techniques in place.
They expect normal operations well beyond midnight. One thing that's not as easy to predict, acts of terrorism. The governor says they've taken every precaution to ward against that.
There is no specific threat that we are aware of that has us concerned, but on the other hand, there are always individuals or possibilities. So the entire state police have been activated. The National Guard Command Center is up and running with the ability to mobilize if necessary.
The governor says they've been in contact with officials down in New York City. Now, if you want an update on what's going on around the state, you can call the New York's toll-free Y2K hotline, that number 1-877-Y2K-4-NYS. Now, the governor is not expecting to receive any other calls later tonight to warn him about any kind of potential emergencies. He says he's just going to spend the evening in downtown Albany with his family. Live in Albany, Steve Ammerman, News 10.
All right, thanks very much, Steve, for that report.
Well, you know, maybe it was a Y2K fear. Maybe it was any one of 1,000 other reasons that had the sales of gasoline driving higher and higher in the capital region today. There were plenty of lines at some of the stations we sampled, although most of the drivers, when pressed, said they would have filled up today anyway. Gas suppliers say, regardless of why you fill up, there is plenty of fuel to go around.
And now we're going to head over to Steve, who tells us we're not going to need as much heating fuel as we think. At least it's not going to be freezing, right, Steve?
Elisa and Jimmy, absolutely. A bit of a break on this New Year's Eve. Let's check out the weather. It's quiet everywhere, and temperatures, relatively speaking, not that cold for this time of year. It's going to be a quiet night if you're traveling. Right now, 25 in Albany, 19 Glens Falls, and 21 at Bennington. New York City, by the way, 39. And it's mild for this time of year and quiet. coast to coast. In fact, 67 in Dallas, and even way up at Minneapolis, St. Paul right now, it's 38. And here's what we expect for New Year's Day, a surge of mild air coming in, and that should boost temperatures tomorrow well above freezing into the mid-40s. This evening, partly cloudy and dry in the 20s. It hit 31 today for the high temperature. And tonight, not that cold, 15 to 21 under a partly cloudy sky. And the 5-day forecast, look at this, 43 tomorrow, 48 on Sunday, and maybe next week, a little bit of snow later Tuesday night into Wednesday. Jim and Elisa, back to you.
All right, thanks, Steve.
You know, we do want to remind those of you who maybe don't know that we have our News 10 reporters out all this evening. They'll be out all night as well, not only covering all the celebrations around the region, but also checking on any problems there are, if in fact there are any.
And they'll be there for tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning we are going to have a special hour-long newscast. That begins at 7 a.m. We want to make sure that you watch that. Well, 1999 was a very prosperous year for many Americans as the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ soared to new highs. A lot of people made money, but there's a chance that we can make some more in about, what, 25 seconds?
Yeah, we're trying to get a signal here.
Well, wait, we got it. We're going to go to the New York Times Square.
In Times Square, they'll be drawing the Millennium Millions,
That's
right? Which is the total is $100 million, and we'll check the clock here and get you to that in just a couple of seconds. Get your tickets out if you have them. Sales were cut off at 6 p.m. The drawing is coming up in just a couple of seconds.
Here comes
so right
Yolanda Vega, so get ready to make...
Let's go live to Times Square.
The live New York Millennium Millions drawing is sponsored by your Upstate Ford dealers.
It's time for the drawing for the biggest game New York has ever seen, with the biggest jackpot New York has ever seen. It's New York Millennium Millions from the New York Lottery.
Good evening, New York. The moment you've been waiting for is almost here. In just a few seconds, we'll be drawing for a jackpot of $100 million. But first, as director of the New York Lottery, I want to thank you for having such a terrific year. The revenue brought in by all New York Lottery games helps educate our children, which is what the lottery has been doing since 1967. And now, let's watch someone we all know start the drawing.
Good evening, everyone. For the New York Lottery, I'm Yolanda Vega. Welcome to the New York Millennium Millions drawing being held live in Times Square on the biggest night of the year, December 31st, 1999. Tonight, you could win or share a jackpot of $100 million. First, the 5 winning numbers from 1 through 50 are 39, 23, 38, 8, and 46. Tonight's drawing is being observed by an independent auditor from KPMG. And now for the Millennium Millions Ball. The winning number from 1 through 25 is number 14. That makes the New York Millennium Millions winning numbers 39, 23, 38, 8, 46, and number 14. Thank you and Happy New Year!